What's up everybody? Hope everyone's having a great holiday and that everyone's staying safe. In this video I'm going to bring you some tips and tricks to hopefully help you with your production and your workflow. First up we have the layering function. If you have two channels, this can be drums, plugins like VSTs, anything really that is a channel, you can layer them by inserting the layer. So if I have this bass and this pluck here, all I have to do to layer them is bring up the layer and then select all of the channels I want to layer, and you can use multiple channels, more than just two, and then hit set children. So now when I play something or put MIDI into this channel over here, the layer channel, it will play both of these channels at the same time. This next tip only works on 32-bit plugins and 32-bit versions of FL Studio, and 64-bit plugins and 64-bit versions of FL Studio. If you're using 32-bit and 64-bit, this will unfortunately not work. Same with the scenario of vice versa. So Massive, for example, if you have a plugin and you are playing something and tweaking a knob afterwards, if you are not getting any sound, you can fix that. So if you are getting this effect right now, it won't play when I hit the keyboard. To fix that, you go into your settings and select don't allow keyboard stealing keyboard focus. So now you can play MIDI, twiddle and fiddle knobs and it'll still play the synth. It'll still trigger the notes that you are hitting, so you can edit and play notes at the same time without having to worry to exit out of Massive and go back into it to hear the sound again. A lot of people already know about this tip, but to create an automation clip or link a parameter in a third-party plugin, meaning a plugin that is non-native to FL Studio, all you have to do is tweak the knob or the parameter, go to your tools, last tweaked, and there you have the option of editing the events, initializing the song with this position, or creating an automation clip, or even linking to another parameter or another automation clip. So simple as that. All you have to do is tweak a knob, tools, last tweaked, create automation clip, and there it is. This next tip can help with the creative flow or just coming up with some cool ideas. If you have a keyboard or you're just jamming on your regular typing keyboard, like so, that sounds horrible because I'm using my typing keyboard. You can actually dump your scores that you have just jammed on to your piano roll. So go to your tools and dump score log to selected pattern. Now you will have all of the notes that you have played in your session. These are all the notes I've played in the making of this tutorial to demonstrate the sounds and such, and they are all recorded here. So if you ever just have a creative block, can't come up with melodies, you can just jam out for a while and everything will be here for you to go back to and select and tweak. And that's a pretty cool feature in my opinion, so props to FL Studio for doing that. This next feature is pretty essential again in my opinion. You can actually set FL Studio to save your FLP files during different intervals, and all you have to do is go to your options and your file settings, and from there you can set it to save between different intervals. I believe it defaults to never, just remind me every 10 minutes. But you can set it to 5 minutes to 10 minutes and even 5 minutes and before risky operations, which is pretty useful in my opinion, because if you forget to save, then FL Studio will do it for you and you will not have to worry about losing all kinds of work if it crashes on you. This next tip is all about keyboard shortcuts. They are definitely very essential to increasing your workflow and getting around FL Studio. Some simple keyboard shortcuts are Control S to save, Control Shift S to save as a new file, Control Z to undo a step, Control Alt Z to undo another step, F4 to create a new pattern, F5 to bring up your song sequencer, F6 to bring up your pattern sequencer, F7 to bring up your piano roll view, F8 to bring up your plugin picker, F9 to bring up your mixing panel, F10 to bring up your settings, as well as F11. It will also bring up a different tab of your settings, which is the info settings. This is where you can set the title and the author of your current FLP. And F12 will close all your windows. FL Studio also comes with some pretty good plugins to analyze your tracks and channels. My favorite is Wave Candy. Wave Candy has multiple different features. The oscilloscope, the spectral view, the decibel meter, and the vector scope. Now the oscilloscope, of course, it will show you the oscillations so you can analyze the waveforms. The spectrum view will show you a view of the spectrum, sort of similar to Harmer and Edison's spectral view, and I will demonstrate this in a second. The meter will show you the decibel meter just like these channels do by default, so you can see how close you're getting to the ceiling that you've set yourself, or make sure you're not peaking, and analyze how loud your track is. The vector scope will give you a good idea of the stereo image of your track or your sounds, and I will demonstrate this now with some sounds. And this feature is also highly customizable, so you can change the background, you can change the color, you can change the corners, rounded or cornered, the reflection, whether it stays on front, on the desktop, blurs behind, the gain, which is sort of like the range, the fade, you can freeze it, you can control the scale the whole time, peaks, decay speeds, so it is very, very customizable, not just the appearance but also the function. But it is nice that you can just change the appearance right on the fly. And I definitely love using this, and it is even defaulted to some of my templates, mastering templates especially. I have like 5 of these on, and it is great to have these things. Speaking of templates, it's actually very easy to make your own templates. So say you have a FLP file that you want to load every time your FL Studio starts up, so you have some cool kicks or a nice mastering chain or anything else that you want to default to every time you load up FL Studio. Simply go to File, Save As, go to Templates, save it as a template, and close FL Studio, open it back up, select File, New from Template, select your template, and it will load every time with that template. And I will demonstrate that now. Something that I think is highly underrated by a lot of producers are send channels. You can use these to apply a chain of effects to multiple sounds without having to import that effect to every single channel. So let me demonstrate that right now. If I have these two sounds and I want them to both have the same kind of reverb, all I have to do is go to the sound and make sure they are going into this send channel. So all I do is route it by tweaking this knob to 100%, same with massive. Now both of these sounds will have the same reverb effect, with the reverb being EQ'd. But you can also control how much of that effect each channel has by simply tweaking the amount, so you don't have to send it up to 100%. You can just have maybe 40%. But you also can have 100%. Note that if you have certain plugins that create a delay, then you will actually start to experience phasing unless you load a similar plugin into the other channel. Some plugins definitely do have a lot more delay than others, so this is something that you can easily figure out by loading the plugin of your choice into the effects mixer. Now, if you play the sound with the plugin mix at 50%, and you hear phasing, which phasing is the sound sounding kind of washed out. If it doesn't sound like the original by going down to 50%, then you would definitely have a bit of delay in the plugin, and you might want to have one of those as well on your other original effects chain, or you just want to have a different plugin that doesn't have as much delay. So you can hear the phasing there in the serum bass. I'm going to take this off. And that is the kind of sound I'm talking about. So that's how you can see if it does have some kind of delay, and that's how you can fix it. The last tip I'd like to share with you guys is using peak controllers as LFOs. I can't tell you how underrated that plugin is. Not only can you use the information that a sound makes, the audio information, actually I should have probably loaded it here. If I'm playing the sound, it will create this peak information here that you can see on the graph. You can use this and send it to various parameters and actually control those parameters with the sound of the plugin you're using. But you can also use the LFO and link different things to your LFO. And you can do this for multiple parameters and sync them up together, or just create all kinds of crazy modulation for basses. So if a plugin doesn't have an LFO, or if you have an effects plugin and it doesn't have an LFO, then you can simply create one with the peak controller. Or you can get really creative and use the information it sends, the peak information, to control other parameters. And that's 10 FL Studio tips and tricks to help you with your production and your workflow. Hope you guys have a good one.